You're listening to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast, hosted by Angel Fabian Rivera. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino and Angel Fabian Rivera. Hola mi gente, welcome to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. This is a place where we dive deep into the captivating world of entertainment with influential Latinos shaping the industry. My name is Angel Fabian Rivera. You can also find our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino or Angel Fabian Rivera. Today, we're doing things a little bit different. Today, we're bringing a lead actor and the director of Clocked. Clocked is a short film that I actually didn't watch originally at the New York Latino Film Festival because I was working there, but I knew about you guys and I got to watch the movie afterwards. And I'm so excited to bring you guys here today. So, first of all, we have Germain. Germain Arroyo can be seen as the lead in the feature film Clocked. The film has not only been nominated, but has been awarded Best Feature Film. They can also be seen in Ryan Murphy's Ratchet on Netflix as Diego, opposite Sharon Stone. Past television credits include CBS SWAT, Apple TV's For All Mankind, and Showtime's The Affair. Yes, Jermaine, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited
Yes.
to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Yes. And next we have Noah Salzman. He's an award-winning screenwriter and director based in Florida. With over a decade of experience writing compelling, thought-provoking narratives, his passion for crafting original, character-driven, socially informed stories was nurtured by the relationship with his hometown of Miami. Noah's feature film debut, Clocked, has played across the country in the festival circuit, winning over a half dozen awards. Noah is also a Nosto Screenwriting Fellow with his feature script, Xiao, an associate feature programmer for the Key West Film Festival, has served on the jury for Miami Film Festival and was one of 5 writers selected for the Miami Film Labs Development Series, where he pitched his feature film, Turkey. Oh my God, that's incredible, Noah. Thank you for being here.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having both me and Germain.
First of all, is there any Latino dish you guys cannot live without?
Germain, do you want to start?
Oh yeah, I'd love to start. You know what? I'm gonna do the classic tacos de asada, un burrito de asada. It's my favorite thing. I can eat it every single day. I probably have done that. And I don't know, I just love it. It's so simple. It's a classic. It's delicious. It just does everything for me. So yeah, tacos de asada.
Tacos asada. Do you eat that for breakfast as well?
Yeah, I'm Mexican. Of course I do.
I love that. And it has to be spicy, right?
It has to be spicy. You need a salsa. Otherwise, it's not really a taco. I mean.
Oh my God, I love that. I cannot eat anything spicy, by the way. I'm not. I'm Puerto Rican and people think like we eat spicy stuff all the time and I'm like, nope.
No,
I cannot tolerate spicy in it. I mean, my mom used to eat like a lot of spicy food growing up, but I couldn't. I couldn't hold it. I can't. And even today, like sometimes people bring me tacos that are very spicy, and I'm like, take that thing away. You know, I'm hungry and I cannot eat that. And I love tacos.
No, that's true. That's true. That's true. Sometimes you have to be careful. You have to say salsa on the side, please, because sometimes they're crazy with the salsa. I'd be like, oh, I can't taste anything right now. This is a fire. But yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
What's your go-to taco then?
Me?
No, Angel. What's your go-to taco?
Me?
Yeah.
Me? I love tacos al pastor.
Mm.
Those are my favorite, you know? Like once I tried them, I was like, what is this? Like, this is life. And when they add the pineapple to it, and it's just mind blowing. I'm like,
The grilled charred pineapple.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And I don't eat pineapple, but on a taco, it's just the best thing. It's crazy.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh my God. So Jermaine, you have Mexican heritage?
Yes.
Nice. So what about you, Noah? What's your
I
go-to?
would say my go-to. Well, I love to cook, and
Ooh.
I think that like recently I got into like making really like authentic enchilada sauce.
Okay, you know
So
what?
like enchiladas has kind of been like my go-to recently, and I make like killer enchiladas. Like for like yes, yeah,
Not any
Why?
enchilada. They're killer enchiladas, you
they
know?
are. They are. Yeah, like you buy the dried chilies, toast them, then rehydrate them, blend them with like tomatoes and all your spices. And there's a trick.
Ooh.
Like if you're gonna make enchilada sauce, you have to take it out of the blender and you have to put it into like a super hot pan with oil in it, and you have to fry off your sauce. And that like adds crazy flavor to it. And then you pour it over your enchiladas and bake it. It is
Come on.
Okay.
All right, Noah, trying to show off. I mean, that wasn't the
Right.
question. The question was
Right.
Now you're
It's enchiladas. Enchiladas.
Well, now we got
Whatever.
now we gotta try that enchilada and actually, score it and be like, okay, are you sure? You're sure? Okay, because you sold it. You sold
yeah.
it. I want to try it.
Yeah, it's I'd be happy to make it for both of you, any of your friends, whatever. I'll make trays of it, and you'll see. Yeah.
Okay, everybody here, just listen to that, right? So you guys heard what he said, right? So Noah's gonna cook for us,
Anyone listening,
and we're gonna try.
The
Anyone
hundreds,
listening
the
is gonna try the
thousands.
enchiladas.
the hundreds of you, the thousands of you, enchiladas for everybody.
Enchiladas for everybody. I love that.
I'm excited.
You're right. I'm very excited too. And my other fun question is, what Latino artist are you listening to today? Like, no, what's the last Latino artist you listened to?
I mean, in Miami, it's impossible to not literally everywhere you go hear the new Bad Bunny album. It's impossible to not.
Me tira más
But,
foto.
yeah, I mean, it's banger after banger after bang. I mean, just like Bad Bunny is, I mean, he might as well be like king down here. Like aside from Messi, who literally lives like right here, Bad Bunny is everywhere, and he deserves to be everywhere. But like the new album is ridiculous.
It is literally everywhere. Like even here in Atlanta, people who don't even speak Spanish, they listen to it and they sing to it, and I'm like, do you even know what he's talking about?
Mm-mm.
But anyway, just sing and dance to it, right? Like everybody's happy, I'm happy. We all dance and sing to it, and it's just a phenomenon. It's just crazy what the things that he's done. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what about you, Germain?
Let's see. I've been listening to a lot of Young Miko.
Ooh.
Absolutely love her. She's like everything. I love her style. I love her lyrics. I love her videos. A lot of Young Miko. But I like classics too. A little, Juan Gabriel. Paquita la del Barrio.
Ah, she just passed away. Yeah.
Yes, I grew up with my mama. She was playing all the music out loud. So I listen to the classics and I love the classics. But you know what? I listen to everyone and anyone. Come through.
I love that, right? We just gotta listen to anything that comes our way, and we, as Latinos, like there's a lot of singers out there that they've really like taken the next step. Taking for example Bad Bunny, right? But thinking about Shakira, even Daddy Yankee or I don't know, Luis Fonsi when he did Despacito, who has literally transcended, but nobody like Bad Bunny, I say, or J-Lo, or even Selena. We talk about Selena, who was an icon, right? Who did it first. But yeah, it's so beautiful. Okay, so let's dive into you guys, because I wanna get to know a little bit about you guys and why you started this crazy business. And this questions goes for both of you guys. Growing up, did you ever felt represented on the screen? Whoever wants to start.
Ooh, I mean, me, like, look at me, I would say, yeah, like, probably too much. And I think that's part of, like, why. And what's funny is I grew up in 3 major majorly diverse cities. So I was born in LA, and then I moved to Chicago, and then I lived, and then obviously now I'm in Miami. And I was always in classes of like very diverse. Yeah, I was just always in like super diverse classrooms. I didn't know what it was like to be in a school of just like all white kids. And to me, that was like, since that's how I grew up, I write stories and I want to tell stories that are full of, you know, diverse casts, I think, because that's just how my life was. And yeah, I think that there obviously needs to be further and better and so much more representation of, you know, the Latino community, the African American community, the Asian community. I know that like they don't get any like any airtime. Even it goes down to like women in like lead roles and things like that. Like it's just not I feel like overly represented at times, even though that's not the way I grew up. Yeah.
Well, that's a really interesting way of seeing things, because not everybody sees it that way. You know, nobody has that experience, and I love that you mentioned that, because that made you give you that spark, right? Of like, I want to write stories about, you know, all these people that I grew up with, or you know, navigate through that, and we don't get to see that every day. So thank you for that. I want to say thank you. Yeah. What about you, Germain? Yeah.
I mean, growing up in a Latino household, I have 4 older brothers. And so on television, I didn't really see a lot of myself, to be quite honest. Somebody who's part of the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't see a lot of representation on television, especially, you know, the Latina networks. So the things that I did see, it was either being made fun of, it was like a joke, being mocked. And so that was the things that I did see about, you know, a queer character on television. It was a comedy skit. It was something that was being made fun of. And that was really the only thing I ever saw growing up as a kid. So for me, what really represented me, at least personally, was the fierce Latinas that were in like the soap operas, the telenovelas, you know, like they were like the villains too. They were always the villains, baby. And I was just like entranced by them. Like I was obsessed with them. I loved the way they dressed, the way they you know, beat the faces. Like it was just so fierce. So that was my representation. And having 4 older brothers, none of them ever understood me. And there was no hiding this, because I was so flamboyant as a kid too. Like, look, I can't stop. And so I always knew that I was different from everyone else. And I was always so, like, I always wanted to find people like myself. People who not only looked like me, but also sounded like me. Thought like me, had feelings like me, and it just wasn't around at all growing up. And when I was really young, I was very, I guess, free. I wasn't aware of everything that I was, and I didn't think anything was wrong with me as a kid, until you get to an older place or a stage as a kid where people start looking at you weird. You know, they start like, oh, wait a minute, this one's different. Like, this one's a little bit different. And then you start getting those looks and you're like, wait, slow down. Like, these people don't understand you. So I kind of like shrunk a little bit. And then it kind of stayed that way for a very long time. But luckily, I can say that now in television and film, social media, there's a lot of representation, and not only queer people, but trans people. So it's pretty incredible to see how far we've come. We still have a very long way to go, but at least for television and entertainment, there's been some huge improvements. And I can now say I've seen people like myself in film and television. And for that, and like, I'm completely like grateful for that, for sure.
That's I totally connect with you, because you know I grew up in Puerto Rico, queer too, right? And it was very hard, right? Like in the beginning of like seeing myself, for example, and finding people who looked like me, right? And I love that you mentioned that you that you related to all the Latinas, you know, to the women, to the powerful women. And yes, they had to be villains. Most of the times they were like this powerful villains because they were like big, and that made them like, you know, out of the box. And yeah, so we had to go through a lot in order to get where we are today. And you know, people always say, oh, like they have it easy, or they have it this and that, but they don't know what we had to go through as kids. I love that you mentioned, you know, that growing up you had that experience of people treating you a certain way because you were different, but that made you who you are today. And that's it, you know. Even through bad times we can come through, and you know, that's what makes us, and that's the beautiful part of it, even though it wasn't beautiful when we experienced it.
Of course. I mean, going through it isn't okay. It's not easy, but the challenges that people have to go through is what makes you, you know, strong. It creates like a shield around you, to say, and you get protected from other people's words or actions, and it doesn't hurt as much when it comes your way. And that's sad to say that unfortunately we have to create some kind of shield around us to not be hurt as much. But I don't think I would change anything growing up as a kid, because I am who I am now, because of the challenges, the things that I had to go through growing up as a, you know, queer, flamboyant, feminine Latina.
Yes.
So I wouldn't change a thing, because I'm fierce, baby. Like,
yes, and that's who you are, and I love it. You know, and you know, for those who don't love it, you know what? Don't look at me. It's like, you don't pay my bills. You don't pay my bills, right?
Come on, RuPaul. If you ain't paying
You
my
know it.
bills, you pay no mind.
Exactly. I love that. Okay, so I want to switch real quick before we go to Clocked, and I want to ask you guys, like, who or what inspired you to get into this crazy industry?
Yeah. Okay, so kind of like a strange answer, but like I always grew up around sets. My dad was a cinematographer for a long time. Commercials, some indie films, really, really talented. And I think he thought growing up that I would get into the camera department, but like I don't know, something about it just didn't click with me. And so, but something that always did stick with me was writing. Like I always wrote stories, and I think that was like my avenue. I always wanted to tell stories, and you know, writing was always the way that I like envisioned myself getting into it. And then directing like came about through the opportunity. Like I did some like shorts and stuff like that, but directing really like became a major part of my vision during and after Clocked. So my dad's my first like direct inspiration, but I think it's just like so many writers and directors that you see making incredible films, and like sitting in a movie theater. Like I remember sitting in movie theaters many times being like, oh shit, like I really want to do this, and not having that same feeling in any other setting. You know, I think it is just like my dad having me just in that environment for a while, and then but really just like sitting in like the church that is like the movie theater and being like, this is what I need to do, more than like a want. Yeah.
It's interesting that you said, because I believe growing up on sets was so normal to you, right? Like you never thought about it, like, oh, right, like, oh, I can actually do this fully. But it's not until you sit down in a movie theater and you actually watch a movie, right, where you actually see yourself and you're like, oh yes. It's very interesting, because I always thought, how is it to be like a kid of someone who's in the industry, right? Like, what does it feel like? And you just gave me an answer there. And it's interesting, because probably it was integrated in you. It's like a chip on you, right, in you, but you'd never realize, oh, like,
even
right?
having like a father who was in the industry in like an important crew position, it very much to me like that didn't feel like the avenue for me, right? So it didn't feel like the direct in for me, because I was like, I know that that's not my way in, right? So I needed to figure out another way, and that was always through storytelling. And I think that is literally just by like watching movies and being like, I mean, if these people can do this, right? Like someone had to write this, right? Someone had to like put this story together.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe that's how I do it, you know? Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Noah.
Yeah.
Yes. What about you, Germain?
I don't know if there's a specific person who inspired me. I'm sure there is. But I think for me, it was I always had like an interest in being on TV or some form of entertainment. As a kid, I was always the first one dancing at the parties. Like my mom used to go to all the parties with all her friends, and I was always the first one dancing. And I always loved just the joy that it brought to me, like just being, having some fun. But for me, I think what really set it off was as a kid watching television and watching these kids just have so much fun doing commercials, like a Target commercial or like anything. I just watching them on TV, I was like, wait, like I could do that. Like I could run and have some fun on TV. Like, it looks easy. And so I guess like the joy that people had on TV, just I really wanted that as a kid. And so I think for the longest time that kind of just drove me to somehow find a way into it, because no one in my family is in the entertainment business at all. So it was like, for me, it felt like an impossible thing because I was nowhere near it. I didn't know how to even go to like find it. But I will say my mom has always been very supportive ever since I was a kid. I was like that nosy kid who went on like the internet and I was like Googling how to become famous, like how do I get a job on TV?
Of course.
Yeah. And so I found like this place where I was from where they're like, come and we'll teach you how to do things, pay us money. Probably a scam, but like I wanted it so bad. So my mom took me all the way there. We did the whole process and they were like, great, we think you're perfect. Everyone's perfect. And so they're like, we just need money. And my mom's like,
so I want to pause you there because I did some of those too when I was growing up. When my parents brought me, and it was like a 10K situation or 4K or 5K, and it was like, we're gonna bring you to Hollywood, we're gonna bring you to Disney, you're gonna be the next big thing, and it's like that was like the thing.
I was sitting in the car, the radio's like, you want to be the next Disney star? Like, if you think you got it. And I was like, back in the backseat, like, I got it. Like, that's me. Like,
obviously, it's me.
I said, let me take this number down really quick. And so, hello, I'm the next Disney star. Like, that, you're talking about me? And so she took me all the way there, and they were like, we need some money. And I was like, it's okay, Ma. Like, you can't afford it. It's okay. It's whatever. And then she somehow came up with the money and surprised me. And so my very first introduction into the world of entertainment was because of my mom. And yeah, I went to some classes where they taught me how to like, walk a runway and like nothing to do with television, of course, but like, they taught me how to do like some makeup, and I had my first headshots when I was like probably 13. And that was my first introduction to it. And I was like, I really like this. But it took a while to like actually have the nerve to like move to California to like try to do anything. But yeah, that was my first introduction. I think it was just like natural hunger for something different. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted to also get the hell out of where I was. Ooh, I almost cursed. And so
it's accepted.
Okay.
But I love that, and I love when I see parents who support their kids, right? And because it's not an easy thing to do, and you can get lost easily in this industry, and there's so many different ways to start. And I love that you brought that up, because yes, there's so many ways that people tell you that you need to start this way, but there's no wrong or right. You just take a couple of acting classes, you get yourself in the room, and that's it. You gotta continue until something comes up and you're gonna get it. But it's a whole process. And I teach today to kids, and I talk to their parents, and I tell them these things. I tell them, you just gotta be supportive. That's the only thing your kid needs at this moment. Because your kid is gonna get a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be hard, because if it's hard for us as adults to understand it, imagine kids. It's not easy to tell your kid, oh, you didn't get the leading role, you actually didn't get anything, after you did a whole process of 3 auditions or whatever, and it's hard.
It is hard.
So we need those parents to be very supportive and to be there for us.
Yeah.
I mean, also, like, I'm sure, it's with everybody, but there's like a lot of things that your parents tell you when you're younger that stick with you as an adult, that kind of like mold you, So like to be able to, I mean, like you said, facing rejection at a young age when like even adults struggle with it. Like imagine facing the struggle of like not getting that audition and then your parents being like, yeah, this isn't for you. Like that could crush a dream instantaneously. Yep. So I think it's awesome what you're doing, telling them to just like, regardless of if they're getting these rejections, like to just be there for your kid is really important.
Just be there for your kid, because look at you now, look at you now, Germain, look at you now, you're here, right? And you've been doing this. So that's what it's all about, having that support, because this is a career that, we don't do it by ourselves, right? We never do this alone. So we got to have that support system behind us to like let us continue, because sometimes we actually ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Are we in the right place? Are we in the right path? What am I doing, right? And that's where this support system comes up. Yeah. So I'm glad you had that support system, and you're here now standing stronger because of that. And that's, sometimes we forget about those things, or we don't think about it as much. Yeah. But that plays an important role in in the future.
I agree.
Yes. Okay, so now we are gonna talk about Clocked. And for anybody out there, Clocked is a powerful film that tells the story of Adolfo, an 18-year-old Puerto Rican boxer chasing his dreams while also navigating his journey of self-discovery and identity. As he works to provide for his family and pursue his passion, he also faces the deeply personal challenge of transitioning into the woman he knows he is. With themes of family, resilience, and self-acceptance, Clocked brings an emotional and authentic portrayal of coming into one's own. So this is a very powerful film, and I want to start with Noah. I want to ask you firsthand, what inspired you to bring this story to life?
Yeah, honestly, very simply, I was part of the theater scene in Miami for 6 years. The theater that's shown in the movie is actually the theater I performed at for a long time. And when you're part of any of these really creative communities, like also even like being on sets and stuff, you become friends with some really talented, really wonderful, vibrant, queer people. And you usually find out about them when you get to know them a little bit deeper, that the reason that these awesome people found these outlets and these places to be themselves is because they weren't accepted for who they were at home. And so I kind of wanted to write a film that was it's like a group that I call like the people who are in between families, like a family you're born into versus the one that you choose. Mm-hmm. So I think that was like my main driver of inspiration for writing Clocked, was simply just like, these people need a film for them. There's so many films about people who are like, uncomfortable with coming out, or there are films about people who are already out of that process, like on the other side of it. But that like in that middle ground is something that I wanted to provide to the people who needed it. So that was the basis behind it.
And I love that because what I love too is that it's a different it's a different type of story, you know. I think we're tired of seeing the same story, you know, the same layout of like someone coming out in a certain way and then, you know, going to like the full rejection side of it, and then, you know, blah 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 blah. But I think it's time like we layer these stories and we add more to it, because
Yeah.
these are real like, life experiences, you know. And it's like when people still talk about, you know, the drug dealers a certain way on Mexican stories, and I'm like, why do we still tell the same stories? Why are we talking about mates the way that we're talking about them, you know? And I that's what I love about it. There's so many layers to it that makes this a different story, and makes it so unique, and makes it feel like, oh, it's a life experience. Someone actually is going through that as we speak.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to share those stories. So that is beautiful that you took this as an inspiration. You know, you saw the need, and you were like, I want to write about this.
Yeah, and also I think from the acceptance point of view, when I was growing up, I had like this little really tight friend group in high school, and one of our friends was this straight woman who then came out to us, like before we went out one night. She came out to us as like being a lesbian, and like it was like a really big deal to her. And then just like me and my friends, because it was 3 guys and her, and then we literally just looked at her and we were like, oh, all right, cool, that's cool, so what are we doing tonight? Like it was so like a nothing. And to just see like that relief, like you could see like the weight just come off of her shoulders in that way. And that's the way that like I had an experience like that, and I was like, I want to also have like that welcoming kind of messaging within the film.
I love that you bring that, because I think, you know, I'm tired of like celebrating, right? Like, whoa, you're gay, you're coming out, this and that. It's like, why do we need to make it a big deal, you know, when it's just like, that's who you are. Like, nobody comes out and say, I'm straight, you know, right? It's the same thing. It's like, why do we need to, like, the more we make it a big deal, the more it's like, why? Like, things are changing, times are changing. You be who you are. You're not, you know, you're not messing with anybody. Nobody's messing with you. You be who you are, and that's it. I think that's what life should be. Obviously, you know, in a different world, everything will be easier if it were that way.
Yeah.
But I think it's time, like, to take back and just be yourself without actually just, you know, making it a big deal. And that's the way it should be. And I love that you drew, and I love that you guys were like, what do you want to eat, you know? It's like, because it's like, and you know, that's okay, that's good for you, but why do we need to make it a big deal? You know, we're here to support you. Obviously, you know, I think there's more to it, of like supporting, and probably her family, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, coming back to the supporting system, right? Like, we should be there for each other, right? And be that support system. And that's it. That's what it should be about. It should not be more. We should not bring more to it, because it's you, right? And you are not changing the way you are. We love you because you're you.
Exactly.
Yes, and with that, I want to ask you, Germain, like, when you saw this role, or before that, like, how did you get to audition for this role, and what drew you to this character?
So I got the audition through, at the time, my manager and my agents, and this was like probably one of the first audition scripts that I got that was about a queer story, who was the lead of the film. And when I read it, and we only had just the sides that we were auditioning for. There was no full script. There was nothing. There was just the pure audition sides. So just by reading these sides, I was like, I immediately felt connected to Adolfo, and in a personal way, I just felt like I knew who they were from the very start, from the beginning, from the words they were saying, the descriptions of the scenes, like the parents, the family, the situation, their journey. Like, I immediately felt connected, because at the time that I auditioned, I was exploring myself. I was exploring who I was, I guess my gender fluidity. Like I had just come out as like a non-binary person, and I was exploring with my physical like appearance. So I was exploring with makeup for the first time. I was exploring with like more feminine clothes, and I guess my feminine, part of myself. And so it just was perfect. The way it all just came through and it happened and it came my way. I was like, this is kind of weird because I feel like I'm this character. I feel like this is for me, and I want to be able to tell this story. I want to be a part of this movie, and so I really wanted it from the beginning. And so I was like, I'm gonna get this part. This is mine. And so yeah, it was an incredible process from the start to the end of shooting and beyond that. But yeah, I just auditioned.
Yeah, no, that's it's just a perfect example of like being at the right place, the right time, right?
Yes.
Like you were just going through through your own personal journey, and then you find this piece of art, right? And it actually aligns of who you want to be, right? And aligns to like where you're going through. And sometimes people don't know that about actors, right? Like about artists in general, like the artist always is gonna connect to something that aligns with who they are, right? And sometimes like the more you grow, right, the more you grow in life, the more connected you're gonna be with specific things in your life, like different things that you're being connected to. And in this case, you were connected to to your identity. It was connected to your identity and who you wanted to become, or who you wanted in the process, or maybe it was more of like, actually, I don't know what I want, but actually this can tell me a little bit more about what I actually still don't know. And that's the beauty of art. And I want people out there to understand this and to actually see that we connect with art in a certain way that is so personal that most people don't know about it.
That's very true. With that being said, it's like, as an actor, a writer, a director, anyone in the entertainment business, as a creative person, you don't get the opportunities a lot of the times to really express yourself in a very honest and vulnerable way. There's just, unfortunately, there's not a lot of good projects a lot of the times. And so it's hard when it's amazing when something comes your way where you're like, wait a minute, I want this. Like, this makes me excited. This makes me scared. Like, this gets me, I'm nervous. I'm all the above, like all the emotions, all the feelings, like all of that came through with the script and the entire process. Like, I was terrified the entire time. And for a second, I was questioning whether or not it was my story to tell, because I didn't want to overstep, I guess, my community, like I didn't want to take away from somebody who was also going through that journey, or probably a little further into their own journeys. And so that part really scared me, because I wasn't fully, like who I am now, I guess, at that time. But I think because of that reason, the story felt more raw and more emotional, and so much truth came through in filming, because I was also going through the same process as Adolfo, and that's because of the incredible writing of this man right here.
I love that, because you're going through the process while going through the process of filming this, and you're also discovering things of yourself, I bet, and seeing things and understanding things more, and being like, oh, wait, actually. And that's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of a good writing as well, like you said, because you cannot get that with any writing, because again, it's not anything, but it is beautiful when you get to experience that as an actor, because you don't get to experience that all the time, right? Because sometimes we got to do what we got to do to pay the bills. But when you connect with a script like that in a level, in that type of level, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah, I also think that, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. I think also, like, part of what made Germain's performance so powerful was the process that they were going through and the vulnerability they were able to provide to Adolfo. I've said this before, but I genuinely think if this casting notice came out a year earlier or even a year later, the performance with Germain still as the lead and everything, like the performance probably would have been very different. I think there was like genuinely divine timing.
Yeah, I agree. It was perfect timing. I was genuinely terrified of the role. I was genuinely terrified of the words that were about to come out of my mouth for certain scenes. And that journey that Adolfo goes through in the film, as much as I wanted to also be a part of it, there was a thing that I was like, maybe it's too much because you're going to be exposing yourself, not just as an actor, but as you. And for the very first time, it was happening. You know, I've never experienced that before, where arts kind of is real life at the same time. And usually as an actor, you have the opportunity to hide behind a character where you find some truths here and there and you try to like bring that to life. But with Adolfo, there was absolutely nowhere for me to hide, because everything that they were going through, I also was going through. And so discovering Adolfo was like discovering myself. The words I was saying were hitting me after saying them. And so the alone time after it was like, okay, cut. I'm like, I'm gonna go get some water. Those moments were like very scary, because I would sit there and think about what I just said in front of a crew of people. And they didn't know that I was also going through a similar journey myself. But for me, I was like, oh God, did I just say that out loud? Like, or am I about to say this out loud? Or am I really gonna put myself in this moment in front of people? And usually when I'm acting, I don't really see beyond a camera, you know, like it's action, you go, you're in the moment. But for certain scenes, I saw beyond the camera, you know, like I saw people staring at me and people looking at me while I was saying certain things or crying or, you know, feeling these moments. And that happened for the first time. And I think it's because I felt so like exposed.
And there's something there. I wanna add there, because there's something about there that vulnerability, right? And being vulnerable and being almost being naked, right? Like people compare like to being naked because they're seeing all parts of you.
Yes.
And it's not easy to be that vulnerable. It's not easy to be vulnerable, period, right?
Yeah.
And share, you know, what's intimate to you, or share what's very close to your heart, and you're being in this room completely naked in front of these people, sharing these emotions that are inside you somehow, right? That are actually in there. And that's when, you know, like no matter what character you're playing, there's always something there from you. And in your case, there was a lot of you in there, right?
Yeah.
That you were experiencing. So it was also, I must think it was a challenge as well to like, oh, like how much can I share? Or how much am I actually showing of myself?
So that's very true. And I think there was even times where it was so real to me that I was afraid to I guess act. I was afraid to do the scenes because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for all of this yet. Like it's too soon. Slow down. You know, like I was like, wait a minute. I know I signed up for this, but hold up. But there was moments where I was like afraid to do certain scenes. And also doing a job at the same time, you're like, I can't allow my personal feelings get in the way of actually doing my job. Like I need to do this. I need to put myself in there. And so I would literally have conversations with myself and be like, all right, bitch, like, you gotta like shake it off. You gotta just go in there, and you have to be as honest as possible, even if that means being honest with yourself. And so that's what we did. But I will say the cast, the crew that were involved, they made it so easy, so safe. Noah, everyone created such a safe place. The majority of our cast and crew were Latinos as well. And so having so many Latinos on a set, which was also my first time experiencing, they made everyone feel seen, safe, appreciated. Everyone tried their best with pronouns. Everyone was just so involved and so open and available to the words, the project, the characters. And I think because of that, it was a little easier to throw myself in there and you know, make mistakes, be raw, be vulnerable, be honest. And towards the end of filming, I think people started realizing like, oh, these aren't just like scripted words. These are real words, because they started to learn who I was personally as well. You know, we spent so much time together that they started to learn who I really was. And they're like, wait a minute, like, oh, this is cute. Like, I get it. Like, oh shit. And so towards the end, with emotional scenes, there was nothing but support and hugs and love and care. People would come up like, are you okay? Are you good? Do you need something? Like, can I give you a hug? And so
That's beautiful.
because of that, it felt pure, and it felt good to say certain words.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you got to experience that, and I'm so glad you had the support. You know, going back again, I think this is like the support system episode. But like having that support system is so important, especially when you're on set, right? Having that safety space, having feeling okay. You know, feeling okay just to not be okay, if that makes sense, right? It's like just showing yourself and just doing the job as well, without being judged and without being, you know, having the eyes in front of you. Because I've been on sets where you feel like that pressure, or people are looking at you like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? You look so dumb doing that. It's like, no, it's not. We're all here creating art. We're all here telling a story, you know, and we all have to be together in order for this to work out. And having that support system is so beautiful. And with that, I want to ask Noah specifically, like, what was the biggest challenge putting all this together, right? Like telling this story, telling this Latino story, telling this queer Latino story, and then, you know, making this film and making it come to life.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, honestly, it's based on who I am and what I look like. I knew that telling this story, if told incorrectly, would put a huge target on my back, right? This being my debut feature also, like if this went wrong and people, you know, slandered the hell out of it, I knew that like my career could be fairly short. And so it generally just came from a place of wanting to make sure that things were told with authenticity, right? If there was like a line in the script that someone was like, you know, I don't really think like my mom would say that, or like, you know, maybe we should do this phrase differently. Like, I feel like I'm a director, but I'm not a dictator. And I think there's a major, like, some people don't know how to tote that line, right? Some people are very like, if it says it like that, you are going to be a meat puppet and you're going to stand in that spot and you're going to say what I wrote, right? But for something like this, I felt such a need for things to be accurate and tender and properly emotive. And so I think at first, like in prep, it was a struggle because that's all anyone would tell me. It was like, you know, like, why are you doing this? You know, like this could, you know, go really bad. And I was like, you know, but what if it goes right? Right? Because like I wrote this with the intention and like with all the things like I said behind it, right? All of my intentions behind this were true and were like real. And I got feedback from drag queens and my friends in the queer community before I like sent this out into casting. And so I think it was just like building myself up, knowing that we had to do it right. Like there's just no other way to do it. And that I think was the biggest challenge. That ended up just being the greatest thing, was just like, you know, in between scenes, like especially with those like emotional scenes, like I would sit with Germain and we would talk and be like, how do you feel about this? Because I think during the only people who knew about Germain and what they were going through was me and the casting director slash producer, who was like, because Germain told us during the audition, you know, so it was only us who knew. And so I knew that there needed to be a tenderness there, and I knew that there needed to be this support system, which is the title of the episode. But
Yeah.
I do think that that was remarkably crucial. I also just think, you know, the basic stuff that comes with being on an indie film set of like, you know, if something is to go wrong, you can't say, okay, we'll make up the day next week, right? Your time is your time. You don't have the budget to be like, you know, we'll pick this up in a while, right? If it rains, right? All right, guess your scene that was supposed to be outside is now inside. You know, like you have to be able to come up with
Pivot,
solutions
right?
on the fly. And we had a ton of those moments. I mean, look, our entire shoot was 18 days, right?
Wow.
And we lost 2 of those days because we had a camera malfunction and we lost 2 days of footage.
Wow.
So we had 16 days to shoot this entire movie. And I'm really proud of what we were able to put out. And there were multiple times where we were like, are we going to be able to get this done or get this complete today due to, you know, weather or something like that? Like, there's a scene that takes place. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It might be my favorite, on a park bench that overlooks the Miami skyline, right? It's a super vulnerable scene between Germain and a character named Cleo. And when Miami has really crazy weather, and we were supposed to, you know, we had that day set for that beach where we were filming. And 2 days before we shot, there was like a 22% chance of rain, you know, something like that. And then the day of, we wake up and there's like an 88% chance of rain.
Jeez.
And we're like, oh, like, okay, so how are we going to do this? And we're just, okay, we got to get in what we can. You know, we had to shoot 2 really important emotional scenes on that day. And so we knew we could get at least one of them in. And so we filmed the first one, and then it starts to rain. Germain is right here. They can tell you, it rained probably 20 feet from where we were, from that park bench, but did not rain where we were filming.
What?
So it was like, I'm telling you, like the film gods or whoever was there blessed our set multiple times.
Film gods.
Yeah, like we didn't have to cover up or anything. Like 20 feet behind us was like raining, but not on that bench. And
true. That's true. The Lord said, "Not today, not now,
not today."
Not
yeah, exactly.
Like you ain't gonna get that.
And that happened multiple times on set.
Oh, I love that, and I wanna go a little bit back from what you said about being very careful of, you know, of putting this film together. And I love that you took the time to really make sure that what you were putting out there was authentic and was real, right? And that tells us that we don't need to go through something specifically to talk about that, right? Like we can sometimes get inspired about what we have in our surroundings and the people we connect with. So there's not an excuse of like, oh, I'm not gonna talk about this because I'm not experiencing. No, like you can do your research, you can talk to the right people, you can have the people around you to bring that and to make that come to life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no excuse, and I love that you mentioned that, because it's so important to the research part. It has to be there, and the willingness of making this authentic, as authentic as possible, right? And there are ways to do that, and you just shared that it is possible. Yeah. So thank you for taking your time to make this the way it's supposed to be, right? And tell the story as it was supposed to be told.
Yeah.
And that really tells a lot about what type of artist you are, you know?
I'll say one quick thing about like when I knew, and this was during pre-production, when I knew that we were doing something right was when Cleo auditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They read the scenes, and then after they auditioned and we gave them the role, they were like, I already have, you know, my drag persona, and can this just, I connect with like the words on the page, can this just be me? Like they didn't want to have a fake drag name in the movie. They didn't want to.
Wow.
When they give Adolfo their business card in the movie,
Mhm.
and Adolfo goes, "Who's Armand Fields?" That's the actor's real name. Like they are not playing, like they are playing a slightly fictionalized version of themselves, and the fact that they were able to, they trusted the material so much to say this
Mhm.
should be a version of me rather
Yep.
than like I can play behind something else. That's when I was like, okay, we're something's right here.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So thank you for doing things the right way, Noah. Like there's no excuses to any writers, any filmmakers out there to not do their job, you know, because I think your job specifically, it's more than just putting words on a page, right? It's telling things, it's moving people, it's making a change, you know, it's going against what people think, right, or what people think it's actually true, but going with the reality of it, and that's what you did with this film. So I thank you, you know, for doing your I mean, I don't want to say for doing your job, but you know, for doing the right thing, you know, and doing it the right way. And thank you for doing your job too.
Yeah.
And Germain, I wanna ask you, what was the most challenging moment or scene in this film for you?
I feel like a lot of the emotional scenes in the film they had their own challenges for sure. But I think the most challenging scene for me was the moment where there was a scene where I put on red lipstick. It was a difficult scene, but it was a beautiful scene. And I think it was difficult only because, you know, I'm putting on makeup and I'm like exposing myself, and I'm trying to bring this emotional feeling to this moment, which in itself was just emotional to begin with. Like I felt, I knew what Adolfo was going through in that moment, because, you know, the first time I put on, you know, a red lipstick, I felt beautiful. I felt feminine. I felt soft. I felt everything that felt right to me in that very moment. And for someone else, just putting on lipstick just seems like an everyday kind of thing, you know, like, oh, I put on lipstick every single day. But for me, or someone like myself, a queer person, a trans person, like it's a moment of accepting truth, a moment of accepting, like, this is who I am and it's okay. And this lipstick represents all of that. It represents what people told me I could not do, what was wrong, what is not okay. Like, that's not for you, put that away. Like, all those words and that judgment was put on this little materialistic item, which is a lipstick. So to have a moment of truth and actually like putting it on and enjoying it and living in that moment, it felt so good. But also I understand the fear of it, you know, like the quick realization, like, oh wait, this is wrong. Like, I shouldn't do this. I was told so many times that this is bad. Like, that's not for you. You know, boys don't do that. So that was a pretty incredible moment and scene. And I think the beauty of that scene was, and the beauty of a lot of emotional scenes actually, Noah, the DP, they decided to just let it happen. They decided to just let the cameras go, film it. There's no cuts, there's no, you know, anything. It's just go for it, live in that moment, take your time, and just just be present. And you don't get that opportunity a lot of the times because, like Noah said, it's a short shoot. There's time, there's money. Like we gotta shoot, we gotta go. And indie films, you're shooting multiple scenes in the same day, you know, like from location to location. But they were so willing to let people take their time and enjoy that process and be tender and soft with those moments. And because of that, I think those scenes really came to life and go beyond like the screen. People feel it, people see it. And so yeah, that scene on the beach with the red lipstick is a beautiful moment.
It's so beautiful that like you said, like one simple thing as putting on lipstick, it's so powerful, right? And that's the power of small things, of small details, it just reminded me of Viola Davis in How to Get Away with Murder. She does it the other way around. She takes off her makeup, and that makes her feel like, you know, that's her, right? And you know, in this way, putting on lipstick made you feel free, made you be, oh, this is actually me. Now you're actually seeing the true me. And it's so beautiful when you get to experience that, and you get to like put those little details that are gonna make a change in the film, and are gonna make people feel, oh wait, I feel now, oh I see it now, and that's it. That's the beauty of art. So that's beautiful that you share that experience, and it actually connected also with like your life experience, I must imagine. So that is beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for for exposing that now, because it must not have been easy in the moment, but now you see it, and now you probably understand more of like the why and why you felt like that.
Oh my God, for sure. I mean, before putting on lipstick was, it was I was like, wait, but now, baby, that lipstick goes on real quick.
That goes in.
You know what I'm saying? And now I'm like, that's
now it's hard to take it out from you.
That is true. Now I don't want to wash it off. Don't touch my makeup. That's mine. Like, don't do it.
I love that. All right, so now it's time for Latino Trivia Showdown. Here's how it works, okay? You get to choose the challenge. Pick from 5 categories: history, guess the song, guess the celebrity, food, or entertainment. Once you pick, I'll ask you 3 questions. But here's the twist. I'll give you 2 possible answers. Okay. You have to pick the right one, okay? No pressure. Just, just gonna have some fun, okay? So you guys tell me what topic you guys prefer. History, guess the song, guess the celebrity, food, or entertainment.
Guess the celebrity.
Okay, we'll guess celebrity.
Celebrity? Let's go with celebrity.
All right.
Okay, let's do this. The first question is, which Latina actress played Wednesday Addams in Netflix Wednesday?
Jenna Ortega.
It's Jenna Ortega.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, you didn't say the name.
That was easy peasy. Easy
fact.
peasy. Who is Jenna Ortega, right? What's the fun fact?
I was at a writer's retreat in Italy, and one of our mentors was one of the head writers of Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, writer's retreat in Italy.
Right? I mean, I'm like, I guess the fun fact is that he was in Italy, and I love that.
No, the fun fact is that my mentor, one of the mentors of the program, was one of the head writers of Wednesday.
Oh,
No, I know, but for me, it's like, you were in Italy? Were you in Italy? I love that. Oh, that's nice. Ooh. I mean, Wednesday it's a really good show, and they're dropping the 2nd season. I'm excited. Okay, so second question. Who played La Reina del Sur? Is it Kate del Castillo or the lady who runs the best taco stand in town? What do you think? Who are you thinking? What are you thinking?
It
Is it
must
the
be
lady?
the lady who runs the taco shop. It must
Right?
be.
Must be her, right?
It has to be.
Ah, oh my god. But yes, it's I guess it's Kate.
I know. It's Castillo.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Of course. And then the last question. Which Latina actress played Carmen Sandiego in the Netflix animated series? Was it Sofia Vergara or Gina Rodriguez?
Ooh. I mean,
Gina Rodriguez.
You go for
Yeah.
Gina?
I'm
You
gonna
too,
vote for
Noah?
Gina also, yeah. Even though like it should be like if they ever did a Carmen Sandiego, like for real, like it's Sofia. But
Right? I could see Sofia doing like a live action of her. Like I don't know. Like so, I mean, Sofia can do anything. I mean,
Yeah,
she
I
never
love-
age. She's also ageless. You know,
Ugh.
it's just crazy. She's a vampire. But yes, it was actually Gina Rodriguez. Yes,
all right, three
Yes.
for three.
3 for 3. You guys did it. You guys did it.
Period.
Okay, so yeah, you guys are the best. Love
Good
it.
job, Noah.
Thank you, Jermaine.
You guys are gonna get a star.
What do I win?
A star.
You win a
The
trip to your own house.
Oh, period.
And yeah, I guess you're there right now. Okay, so before we leave, I wanna ask you both, what's the takeout of Clocked? What can people take from watching Clocked?
Would you like to go first?
Sure. I mean, you're gonna take away a lot of things from Clocked, like for sure. It is a beautiful, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a part of it. If I was just watching it as somebody who's not in it, I would honestly take away so much. It's raw, it's honest, it's an indie film, it's real. There's so much beauty in this film. It needs to be watched, it needs to be seen. I really want just everyone and anyone to get the opportunity to watch this film. I myself personally took away so much from the movie. Being a part of it, I learned who I am, who I want to be, and who I'm going to be because of being a part of this film. I learned how to stand in my own queerness, my own femininity, like my own, even my own masculinity. Like I learned how to stand as me, myself, and I because of being a part of this film. And that is something people will take away for themselves personally. And I say that because I know it. You're gonna watch this film, you're gonna leave feeling connected to who you are, who you wanna be. People who aren't even queer or trans, they have walked away from watching it being like, I now understand who my child is. Like, I now understand where they want to go and who they want to be in life. And because of those moments that Noah and I have both experienced with audience members who have seen the film at the film festivals we've been a part of, they have come up to us with beautiful questions and beautiful answers to certain scenes that they've seen in the movie. And for me, that was like, I was like a shock, like, oh, okay, it did that for you? Like, oh my God, like I'm grateful that was able to answer questions that you have for yourself or your loved ones. It did that for people, and just that moment is everything for me. Like I walk away feeling so proud of what we did in Clocked. It's my favorite film that I've been a part of. It's my very first film that I was a lead for. And being a part of Clocked honestly changed my life, improved my life, and has made me the person that I've always wanted to be, and was so afraid of that person for the longest time. Like I was so scared of that person that was inside of me. But because I went through this process, I was able to really face who I am and be who I want to be, and always was meant to be, baby. Like this mannerism, the flamboyance, the gayness, the queerness, the femme, it was always there, just scared. And because of this character in this film, baby, that bitch is out and proud and just like out here stomping the grounds with my heels. Like I love it. And so thank you, Noah, for the opportunity. And I really hope people watch it and take away everything that I just said. And I know I said a lot, honey.
But yeah, no. I want to add that thank you for sharing such a wonderful, such a wonderful job. I mean, for doing your job again. That's not the whole deal here, but for sharing who you are and not being afraid of putting that in the movie and putting that beautiful emotional scenes, you know, of bringing this character to life, and just, you know, being emotional, being open to share it. And that's what makes a great artist, you know, and that's what makes a great actor. And you just did it, and you just showed that. And congrats for that. Congrats for it being your first lead as well, you know, because sometimes we don't think about that, we don't celebrate it as much, but yes, it means a lot. So thank you for putting yourself out there and for doing such an exceptional job. It means a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And you're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome.
My answer will be a lot quicker, but I do want to thank Germain though for like trusting this, you know, cast and crew to be as vulnerable as you were throughout the process, and for being a part just of like the festival experience, being able to answer people's questions with, you know, dignity and strength and grace. I think that's been a huge part of why people have felt comfortable with their vulnerable questions, their responses at festivals. But what I think people should take out of this film is, you know, right now in this current, you know, political climate, things aren't great for the queer community. And I think, you know, literally having the letter T crossed out of government websites, not, you know, so now it's just LGB. And, you know, you can erase a letter, but you can't erase a group of people.
No, you can't.
Exactly. You can't.
I do think that, you know, at this time, people need films like this. I'm not going to call it content because it's not fucking content. But I think people need films like this at a time like this to know that they have, you know, as Clock shows, the right people in their corner, and that there are people who will, you know, stand by them and embrace them for who they are. I think that's what is at this point in time the most important thing that people can get out of this.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for making this film come to life, because like you said, like I think it's needed, especially in these times that we're going through, in these tough times that we're going through. I think it's important to remember and to remind everyone that our queer community, our trans community, is not going to be erased. You know, it's not as easy as eliminating a letter, right? Like that's not going to make it go away. That we're here, you know, everybody's like, we're all here, and they're here, and that's not going to change. And
nope. Thank
you for sharing that story. Thank you for putting that out there. And where right now, where can people watch the movie? Can people watch the movie? How can people gain access for the movie?
So right now we are in the process of getting distribution for the film. Our festival run is pretty much come to a close. I think we're waiting to hear back from 2 more festivals or something like that. So when that happens, it'll all be announced on the Clocked Instagram, which is @ClockedFilm. For any updates you want on that, that's where to find it. But once we do get distribution, you know, I'm hoping for like a limited theatrical release, so that we can be, you know, at some theaters across the country. But mostly it's to make sure that we just get as many eyes on it as possible, whether it be through impact campaigns or streaming services or whatever. Because we really do, you know, sure, yes, I'm the writer director and this is the lead talking about this movie, but we really do think that this film has like an important message, and we've seen its impact on audiences, and we know what it can do for, you know, as many eyes that get put on it as possible. We know the impact it can have on a wide scale. So right now it's just about getting the right distribution deal so that we can do the film justice.
Yes, and it will happen. I know, and I trust that you guys will get the right people, and you're gonna be in the right places to showcase the movie, because I think people need to watch it, and I think it's such a powerful movie and has such a powerful message that it's important for people to see and to get a chance to watch it. So I'd say, you know, congrats for everything that you're doing. It's gonna come. It's gonna become more successful than it is right now, and I'm excited for people, for audiences out there to have a chance to watch it. As for now, I want you guys to share where can people find you on social media, what's next for you guys, and how can people support you, right? Because this is about celebrating our voices, you know, the stories that we tell. So I want everybody to follow you guys. I want everybody to see what you're doing and to support you in your next project. So can you share a little bit about where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Germain Arroyo. And what's next? Well, you know, just out here auditioning, trying to hustle, trying to get my next job. It's not as easy as you think it is, but we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to work hard, and we're going to continue to put ourselves out there because the right job will come around. But I do have a project that just came out recently, and it was shot in New Mexico, which was an incredible experience. It's going to come out on Paramount Plus, hopefully at some point. And it was such a fun project to be a part of. And I got to work with so many incredible women from New Mexico as well. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be so much cool. It's going to be cool. But for now, you know, just out here hustling, trying to find my next paycheck.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, and then for me, you can find me on Instagram at Noah Salz, SALZ _ and I recently started a virtual table read company called Fifth Leg Table Reads. That is on Instagram at Fifth Leg Table Reads. It's for people, writers and actors of both the stage and screen, to be able to come together and, you know, perform these reads. I've seen companies, you know, offer table reads as grand prizes to things, you know, but I was like, that's such an important part of the process. And, you know, it should be accessible to people who are in between auditions or want to submit their scripts to competitions. You can submit your script to Fifth Leg Table Reads for our prices are on the website, fifthleg.com, 5thleg.com. And actors pay a monthly fee of $10 a month. That's it, to select to be in as many reads as they want. And we host them virtually through Google Meet. And every single participant in the read gets a recording of it so that they can use in their materials and they can use it to practice. And yeah, it's just a new platform. We were in beta in November, but we like launched in January. So it's new. Please join and be a part of, you know, the Fifth Leg community.
Yes.
Jermaine did a read last week.
Did.
And
Much fun. It was so much fun. The system was perfectly formatted. Like everything it ran smoothly, and everyone who was a part of the read was also very kind and just so prepared and willing to just be part of those reads. And so check it out, purchase your membership, and be a part of it. It's completely worth it.
That's great, and it's also an experience. That's also a way. That's also a way of like creating community and getting to know new people, right, from all around, like no matter where you're at.
Yeah, because I wanted to give people who are like in Kansas or Idaho, you know, like places that don't have like a thriving scene, but like have that dream of being an actor or like being a writer, to have a platform where they can have the same experience as somebody who does live in LA or does live in New York, where like there are like live reads that you guys can go to and attend and, you know, register for. But there's so many places throughout this country and even other countries that don't have that opportunity. So I kind of wanted to just build a platform that gave everybody like an equal playing field in that regard.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna share that with everybody now.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Angel, you are welcome to
Yeah.
join, be a part of some reads. You're welcome to do...
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there too, so you're gonna expect me there. Yeah, so for everybody out there, remember to follow this amazing artist. Follow Clock to Film as well. And let's keep supporting Latino stories. Let's keep supporting our artists. Let's keep supporting the people that are doing it, right? Like, let's support each other. I think we need more of that. I think it's time for us to help each other and to get there somehow. But in order to do that, we gotta support each other. We gotta create the community, and we're here doing it. So it's important to give that to give that hand to the people who are emerging right now, who are doing it. Remember to follow us at Lights Camera Latino on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify, and all the platforms out there. Like we are in iHeartRadio, Apple, we're everywhere. So there's no excuse.
That's
Even
right.
if you don't have Spotify, you have YouTube, whatever, you're gonna go out there and listen to this podcast, watch the podcast on YouTube, and continue supporting the stories that we're telling out here. And it is not easy, guys. It is not easy to be where we're at. We do this because we're passionate about it. We do this because we want to change people's lives. And I think it's time that we all understand the reason we do all this. So thank you, Noah. Thank you, Germain, for being here. Thank you for sharing your personal stories. Thank you for sharing a little bit about Clocked. I'm excited to see Clocked out there. I'm excited for the world to see Clocked. And I always like to end up with this phrase that says, when life knocks you down, levántate con más fuerza. Keep fighting. It's very important to understand that. So thank you guys for being here. And thank you everybody out there.
Thank you for having us. No, for real. This has been great. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Angel, for having us.
Thank you everybody for listening to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. We'll see you next time.